Welcome to the Iron Mantis Chronicles, the podcast dedicated to upholding tradition for modern times. Hosted by Sifu Jeff Hughes, each episode explores the Iron Mantis system. This podcast delves into the system's unique blend of venerable traditions, like 7-star praying mantis kung fu, with modern combat-proven methods like Brazilian jiu-jitsu and wrestling. Hughes shares insights from his own life and a lifetime of training to offer a practical framework for martial arts practitioners of all levels.
Well, originally the first book was put together. It was I was inspired by one of my Kung Fu brothers, Sifu Richard Fagan, who he passed away. But before he passed away, we were training together a lot. We were working on business a lot, and he had this vision of putting his curriculum together and get this whole organized thing for his martial art program, which that wasn't common. It wasn't very common. Sifu Fagan was originally a student of Wallace Cup Sifu and Wallam Tom Tui Praying Mantis. And then Richard wanted to get into more of the 7-star Praying Mantis and the fighting aspects that 7-star Praying Mantis does. And he reached out to Sifu Fog, and Sifu Fog had him come and train with me. And so that's how I got to know him. And as I was training and we were diving deeper into Praying Mantis and the applications. We did that pretty heavy for 3 years, so we spent a lot of time together. And at the same time, he was teaching me about business and that mindset. And then Master Zamora Sifu got tied in as well. Both of our Kung Fu uncle for Sifu, Richard and myself. So it was like a family got together, and we were helping each other. His school was in Killeen, Texas, and where I was in Austin, and Sifu Cup was in Houston. Zamora Sifu was in McAllen, and at the time, Sifu Fog was in Dallas. So it was like, this Texas connection of different teachers. We were all working together really to further our martial art, but also to build our schools up and to, better run our schools more professionally and have a better program, because so many things have just been handed down verbally through martial arts. There hasn't always been a lot of things written down. So Sifu Fagan was wanting to do that, and then when he passed away, it really inspired me to do it. So I started really documenting things, and then over time, where my program developed and grew into Iron Mantis martial arts, which it is now, I wanted to make sure I had a curriculum for my students that they could follow. Everything is written out and clear. And, I went, started putting everything on Google Docs. And then from there, I was just like, okay, I think I'm just going to put together this book so the students can have it to help them with their training. And it worked there, but what I also didn't realize is how much of an aid it would be for myself too when I'm teaching. So it's been a very useful way to be able to just grab the book at any time and read through the curriculum, or maybe look up something you haven't practiced in a while. Maybe you want to look over the theories or the concepts, and then put some drills together for that. And it's just nice to be able to have your book, because it's really easy when you're training martial art to like focus on the things you like, right? And you want to do, but then sometimes in that process, you don't do the things you need to do, or sometimes address things that your students need to do. And that's what's nice about having a curriculum written out, so you make sure you don't miss anything or forget anything. It's not uncommon for teachers to like favor students, or for whatever reason, maybe because one's more athletic than the other, or just whatever reason, personal reason. So, but yeah, I think it's been very common to see people held back in their training, from moving up in rank, and because it wasn't always clear what was required of them. So, yeah, and so it's interesting because, it's not uncommon in some styles for it to take 10 years to get a black belt. But then in the same system, you've seen people do it in 3 years. And that's, it's across the board because some people come in very athletic and already skilled. But as we know, some things, like wine, some things just are going to take time because it's not all physical. You got to understand it mentally. And then because it's when I say it's not all physical, because if someone's extremely tight and rigid and you just tell them, hey, you need to soften up, that doesn't always work. They're not instantly soft and relaxed. It takes years sometimes for people from going through the training to be able to focus on their breathing, to be able to relax. And that's what I mean by time and the physical aspects. And the way I see it is I did it for my students to help them, but also, hopefully it'll inspire or help other teachers out there. Maybe whether they're new to it, maybe they're also trying to put together their own curriculum. It may help them, give them some ideas, at least see how the format is, and copy from there. Because I also have been not only taught martial arts by my teachers, but been taught how to run a curriculum and how to develop athletes, how to develop skilled martial artists. So there is a proven formula out there. So if this can help not only my students, but other teachers, and who knows, inspire other teachers to maybe try different things and mix up different things. But I think we always say, the proof is in the pudding, because we've seen many martial artists train, work hard, but then they can't produce, especially in competition. We know why is that. And then you see other people, they come out of certain camps or schools and whatnot, and they're very successful. So obviously there is a proven method that works, and usually those come from traditional programs. Programs have just been proven to work over years. And yes, things get modified from time to time, especially as when it comes to sports therapy and rehab and all that, and diet and nutrition. Because the martial art techniques, yes, they evolve, but a lot of them have been the same ones we've been doing for a long time. So how are people getting better? Well, a lot of it has to do with modern science and technology. Well, it's interesting because so tradition and modern, because it's interesting because even all the modern stuff it has its roots in traditional martial arts, and I know a lot of modern schools they say they are traditional. Then we'll say, what is tradition? But just to keep things simple, tradition meaning old school kung fu, karate, and then let's say the modern, which would be MMA, BJJ types of. Now when we get into that conversation, basically I put those together because it's the training that I did. And it was the martial arts that I was fortunate to learn from high level masters, and it was something that has been proven to work. I learned it and I tested it myself. I've had other training brothers who have whether they've competed in the top levels of UFC or the IBJJF or just local tournaments. And then we have stuff that's been proven for hundreds of years, like in the Praying Mantis system. So I have always had a very practical mindset about martial arts. Just like the bottom line is that it needs to work for self-defense. And one of the best ways to test yourself nowadays is in MMA. And then from there also BJJ, and there's Sanda, kickboxing. But if you really want to test yourself without getting a lawsuit, accidentally hurting someone, all the issues that come with getting in a street fight to test your stuff, testing your martial art in an MMA situation is by far one of the best ways to prove your martial art works. Yes, there's rules and all that, but just win without breaking the rules. I mean, it's pretty simple. If you're that skilled, you should be able to control yourself, your techniques and your emotions, and get in there and win. So I've always liked that. I competed for many years. 10 years I competed, a lot of fighting and full contact, and then I ran tournaments, and I've dealt with a lot of situations on the street as a young man, as an adult. So the bottom line is I know it needs to work. Okay. And then from there, that's like the starting point in a sense. And then from there, yes, we get into other aspects like the benefits of health for older people, for the kids, for people who have been injured. Yes, there's other aspects and benefits of martial arts, but the core of it, I feel it needs to be very practical and useful for self-defense. So that's, I would say the book one is it's a white through black belt program. So it's going to deal with striking, trapping, takedowns, takedown defense, and ground fighting. It's like a traditional MMA program. It's a combination of traditional Kung Fu and then also MMA techniques, proven techniques to work from the Hawaiian Kempo and BJJ programs. And then, of course, the sports performance training for the health and fitness and, becoming a power speed athlete at whatever level that is for the student. It's very common for people to create this and build this non-quitting spirit, which you hear about. And one of the best ways, and traditionally how we did it, was fighting. You got in there and you spar, whether it was every class or, in the old days, it was literally just like at the end of BJJ classes, you'd roll. Well, end of karate and Hapkido classes in the old days, you spar. Sometimes I felt like we just did all these workouts and did all this stuff and blah, 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 and bad work, but it was all about getting to fighting. And so that's how we got good, and that's how we built this non-quitting spirit. Because if you couldn't handle the heat, you would quit. Okay, but if you knew every time you came to class, you were going to spar, and it was going to be rough. It's going to be a while before you get to pass some of that on. Okay, now, but so many schools nowadays, it's you don't have that as much for whatever reason. So one of the best ways to create that non-quitting spirit for people who aren't really getting in there and banging is through fitness, whether it's the CrossFit workouts, the sports performance training, track work, Olympic lifting, whatever it is, the ancillaries, whatever it is, that's a way to really push yourself and to build that non-quitting spirit, and through physically getting stronger, but also mentally getting stronger. Just showing up daily or every other day, whatever that is, to do that type of work. And we've seen what it produces. It produces a high-level athletes. So whatever style that you train, it's important to have the right mindset. So we're going to go over the mindset, and then it discusses how the progressions are in the system, so people could understand better the process of what it takes to go from white belt to black belt. Because a lot of people don't understand what that actually means. They know there's belts in it, but this would kind of help them understand the progression, and they can actually see the progression written out too. Other aspects is we have a student creed. Within the creed, it has the 12 virtues. And these virtues are not only good for adults, but they're very good for children as well. And then it goes, right off the bat, diving into our fight stance and how we do it. So that's kind of a general overview of, what they'll be getting, but also, it's going to get into a lot of, especially people who have been training for a while, it's going to get into a lot of the, we call the fighting theories and concepts, principles. So those are also very interesting, especially for people who, have been training a long time. So there's stuff in the book for total beginners. So they kind of get an idea of what, not only what Iron Mantis martial arts is, but what what martial arts is. Okay. And then also we're going to get into like people who've been training, maybe they're not black belt or they're close to black belt. There's information for them. And then there's a lot of information for black belts and also teachers. So wow, whether it's a traditional system like, karate, kung fu, whatnot, or their MMA program or their BJJ program, because it is a well-rounded martial art system. Like when I say system, it's not only about, the striking, the trapping, takedown defense and ground, but also into diet and nutrition, health benefits. We also have other practices like Qigong and Tai Chi type of mindsets and meditation. So it's definitely a well-rounded system. Okay, for those interested in the Iron Man system and they read the book, they see how it's outlined, they see the curriculum written, but also what I have is I have online training. So I have the whole white through black belt program from white to blue, blue to green, green to red, red to brown, and brown to black. The whole program is also on online training. So the book is also it goes hand in hand. It goes as a handbook for the online training. So it goes right along with it. So that people could be watching the videos to learn and then use the book as a workbook and write their notes and whatnot. I mean, I love martial arts. I love what I do. I love how the whole system organically, naturally came together. I've been so inspired by seeing the results of the system through all the students. I've seen what it produced, not only produced in myself and what I love, but then also how I was able to, this curriculum was able to, it's been tested over years, and it's been proven to work. So that's what's inspired me. And plus, it's been my life's work. I mean, I started training in 1974, started teaching in 1995. I was born to do martial arts. So I love it, and I have a passion for it still. And, as I have gotten older, and I may not be running around quite as fast as I used to do and do all the things I used to do, but I still have the mind for it, the internal energy for it. And so I think that it's been a natural progression for me to start, putting all this, writing it all down and then sharing it. And, many years ago, people didn't share things like in the martial arts. Everything was secret, everything. And I'll have to say that it was the karate masters from not only Okinawa and in Japan and stuff, but a lot of Okinawan systems, which I love. I love those styles. I see a lot of similarities in what I do and what they do. But when I started seeing the grandmasters starting to share their systems on YouTube and other areas, and the reasons why, for the love of it and wanting to make sure that it keeps and preserved and passed on, that inspired me to do something that, similar. I was like, well, if they could do it, it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me. And I kind of followed suit. I mean, someone who's done martial arts my whole life, over 50 years, karate styles, Korean styles, from Japanese, Brazilian, Chinese. I mean, it just goes on. Like, I love all the martial arts. I love, all the good, authentic, proven martial arts out there. There's so many books that I've read over the years. There's been books that were written 200 years ago, 400 years ago, and that I may get this one sentence out of it that really helped me understand things I was already doing, and I'm just very thankful for that. So, I mean, I can only hope that any of my writings can help, whether it's help people understand what they're doing or inspire them or whatnot. So, and I think it's, that's why it's called Iron Mantis martial arts. It's a martial art. I love all martial arts and across the board. And I think that anyone who's serious about training, serious about their art, doesn't matter what style you're doing, we're all going to have that in common. There's a common thread through all the styles of training hard, loving what we do, knowing our strengths and our weaknesses of the system, of ourselves. So I'm hoping that no matter what anyone studies, what styles they study, that they can get something out of the book. It may just be a reminder of something. I just finished. I'm just finishing up the third book. The first two books were on, the whole Iron Mantis system. First book, White to Black belt, and the second book, first degree through. So coaches, Sifus, and then because that 7 degrees of coral belt program, and nothing has been written about that. We don't have anything written up on that. But the third book is specifically what's called the Diamond Temple program, internal martial arts. It's all the internal aspects that is in Iron Man. It's like the Tai Chi, Qigong, the yoga, the meditation. So I have people who are mainly studying that for different reasons. Wanting to dive deeper into the internal martial arts. So this book is about that. We have a program. We have 4 different levels. People get to the Sifu as well, and do instructor training and all that. So, but that book basically covers our program, a little bit of the history, and the concepts, some of the definitions and the names of different moves from all the internal martial arts. And we say martial arts, because of the Tai Chi. But we also have the Qigong that's involved with it, and the yoga and the meditation. And to me, all that is tied in. It's the roots of, our Shaolin Kung Fu anyway, from Damo and from India, the inspiration that's come down, and then here to the United States as well. So, well, when I was coming up, we talked about the different excellences of the becoming a true master. It wasn't just being a great martial artist and a fighter, but also, you may be, also get into calligraphy or art and writing, cooking, flower arrangement, So there's other aspects that we feel martial artists should have or cultivate. Music, playing music. So for me, writing has always been something that I've been, interested in. Especially in high school, I started doing that, and went to college for a lot of writing courses. So I've always been inspired by writing, but I would say my Cecil Homer Green, he was the one who really turned me on to haikus and tying in the seasons, of course, to it, and our martial arts, and other friends of mine that are scholars, and it's just a way to share haikus and share these different writings and other poems that I wrote. But most of the stuff that I have has definitely been inspired by martial arts, Zen practice, whatnot. The Tao, inspired by nature and whatnot. So the fourth book is going to be on the De Tung Chuan Jiu-Jitsu program. So it's specifically the ground fighting program that I put together for the Iron Mantis program. So I pretty much took the aspects of the Hawaiian Kempo MMA fighting techniques and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and then also techniques from our 7-star Praying Mantis system. And there's a lot of writings on De Tung, the ground fighting, ground controlling. And I've done a lot of reverse engineering of the forms, and it's been a project of mine, but it's going to be pretty much how we say myself too, because I have developed it with my students and my teachers and friends and other Sifus on our ground fighting program. It's especially for Praying Mantis systems, very much a self-defense program, but you need to know how to deal with takedown defense, or making sure that you could defend yourself without going to the ground. Good footwork, being able to take other people down and them not take you down. That's why we talk about having a strong stance. You want to make sure someone can't take you down, or you could take them down. And then what happens if you get to the ground, whether you slip, fall, someone pulls you down? How do you defend yourself? How do you get back to your feet? How do you defend multiple attackers? And it's just an area that, from training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Hawaiian Kempo as well, like really made me realize that it was an area that needed to be further developed for my Kung Fu program.
That's all for this episode of the Iron Mantis Chronicles. As Sifu Hughes has shown, the system is about more than just fighting. It's a complete path encompassing health, self-defense, competition, and overall well-being. The transformative power of the art lies in developing physical durability, mental resilience, technical proficiency, and ethical integrity. Join us next time as we continue our journey, because as Hughes often says, the truth is on the floor.